All right, everybody. Before we dive into today's episode, we're brought to you by a few fantastic brands that sponsor this show. The first one is Routine. Now, this one has been a sponsor for a long time. If you haven't tried it yet, I don't know what you're doing because I've been talking about them for years. But ultimately, what was Routine designed to do? Well, when we sleep, we lose between a pound and a half of water, mostly just from sweating, something I learned when I first met these guys. Each packet of Routine comes with half an organic lemon, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, all 6 essential electrolytes, and no sugar. I always like to say it's really just 3 ingredients. It's lemons, it's apple cider vinegar, it's Himalayan sea salt. I dump that into a glass of water first thing in the morning, rehydrate myself. The days I have it versus the days I don't, phenomenal on the days I do. I genuinely, it's one of those products where you feel it immediately. You know when you don't have it. Trusted ingredients, made convenient. These guys, they're the bomb. I love working with them. I've loved supporting them over the years. Give them a shot if you haven't already. Go to yourroutine.com. You can use code ShaneWhite30 at checkout for 30% off your first order. They're also available on Amazon. You can go there, get on subscription. That's what I would do. Get a 30-pack, throw it on subscribe and save, get it once a month. If you like to have more than one a day, or if you share it with folks in your house, you're probably going to need it more than once a month, or get 2 bags a month. Both of those are great options. You can save up to 15% every month on Amazon with Subscribe and Save. And all right, we actually have a new sponsor on the show. Couldn't be more excited. Love these guys. They are also out of Chicago. I have worked with them, supported them, actually invested in them. So if you can't tell I love these guys, you do now. It's called Haywell. And for any of you who know me, you know I'm into energy drinks. I'm into caffeine, sometimes to my detriment. And Haywell has honestly been a great alternative, not just caffeine or caffeinated product, but it's been a product that I'm able to use at nighttime too, because they have a calming line as well. But really, Haywell, I'll read this to you guys. Modern life can be hard, but your wellness shouldn't have to be. Being well doesn't mean being perfect. Getting fit doesn't mean you have to fit into a mold. We need a reminder that little more joyful steps can add up to something truly meaningful. We can do hard things, but that doesn't mean we always need to be so hardcore. Wellness is meant to be enjoyed, not endured. They created Haywell to be a simple invitation to a new movement for modern wellness where all are welcome, where small steps can add up to something big, where you get more high fives and less side eyes, where you have more fun and less frustration, where flavor and function are equally famous. Wellness doesn't come in a can, but we can help. They've created a line of low-calorie, functional beverages that taste delicious and help you be a little more well in every mood and moment. They're equally proud of creating a more welcoming, realistic, and joyful flavor of wellness culture where more people feel seen, supported, and inspired to embrace a wellness journey that truly feels better for you from the beginning. Haywell is here for you from rise and shine to relax and unwind. Ashley and Britt, like I said, the co-founders of Haywell, I've worked with them for a while now, and just they're just unbelievable people. If you guys want to try their products, go to the link in the bio. As I'm recording this, I don't have a discount code, but I'm sure we can get one for you guys. So take a look at the link in the bio. You can go to haywell.com. You can also go to Amazon. They're on Amazon, and it's a great place to get it. They're also available in Target. You can find them in Foxtrot. You can find them in a lot of different places now. They're doing a great job of getting distribution. But I would say the 2 easiest places, livinghaywell.com. If you just Google Haywell, you'll find that pretty quickly. And then also Amazon. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Here's today's show. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Shane White Show. I am pumped today to have Alan Scholnick on the podcast from Datefix. Alan and I, we actually didn't meet at EXPO, but I got to meet his company at EXPO West a few weeks ago. And then me and Alan have been talking since then. And I said, hey, your background and your story is one that I actually found to be really, really interesting, Alan. It was funny. I think when we first met, I looked you up on LinkedIn and it's like, oh, wow, you've done a lot of cool stuff. Want to have you on. So Alan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Shane. It's great to be here. I really appreciate you having me. Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time. Before we get into your background and like a broader like come up of how you got to Datefix, would you mind giving everyone listening today just a little bit of a background into what Datefix is, just to kind of set the field?
Sure. Well, Datefix is an energy pack made of dates. Date is for Medjool date. Fix is in reference to a food fix. Or your energy fix or your sweet fix, which you get all the above with a Medjool date. We set out to, I'm a long distance runner with a sweet tooth, and I'm like many runners. I have a hard time digesting sort of maltodextrin based gels, and I really don't want to be consuming a gel on the run or at any time for that matter. And I like to eat clean, and running is a sort of a natural pursuit. And I thought the category deserved a natural alternative. And so that led to Datefix, which is just simply a medjool date blended up with orange blossom water. And you might ask, why orange blossom water? And the eureka moment for me was my mother-in-law made a pastry for me, and inside the pastry was the dates. And it was basically Datefix. So I literally took the fig out of the Newton. I mean, that was the idea here. And it was a simple premise, but it was a long, long, arduous journey, which happy to tell you about. But that's what Datefix is. And
that's cool though. That's how you. I was obviously going to get into that, but that's cool to know that that's how you kind of came up with the concept. I know for everyone listening to, and we'll get all into this, but I think it's good context. I've talked about running on here before because I've run a couple marathons and the products I've used, and I think it's interesting when I got to try it at EXPO. You know, obviously with my background, I've had lots of dates and tried different versions of dates, and since then talked to brands and really been in this whole world of dates ever since, actually. And it's been really interesting because I've used them, like just actual dates, as a form of energy, definitely for exercise and definitely running. And then when we were on the plane, I think I told you this story when we got back from EXPO. Like me and my business partner were on the plane to EXPO, and I was just looking through a list of brands for EXPO, and you guys were literally like on my short list of brands I wanted to talk to because obviously anything with dates was interesting to me and still is. It's been one of those weird ingredients, in my opinion, where like our X bar, I felt like really brought it onto the map, but then it kind of went away to a degree. Like it's still around in products, and there's definitely brands that are really leveraging it, but it almost was like I call it like the forgotten ingredient. It's like it almost feels like 10 years ago it was more popular than it had a come up, and then it just seemed like brands stopped using it to a degree. Not all of them, but just I thought it was going to get bigger, honestly. And I just love the source. And then when I tried it at EXPO, I was like, oh my God, the consistency you nailed, first of all. Flavor is phenomenal. And if you're someone like me, I'm definitely a perfect consumer of it. It's like, I'm the same way. Like those gels kill your gut and you hate having them all the time. And it was always a dichotomy for me trying to be healthy and eat clean and whole food ingredients. And then I'd go on runs and have like, you know, especially long runs, I'd have so many of these things and they're just shit. They're just full of stuff. And so anyway, I just tee that up because I always find products that when the use case is perfect, the ingredient deck is perfect, and it's one of those ideas where you're like, oh wow, how did someone not think of this? That's what I had when I was at the booth at EXPO. It was like, this seems so obvious that this would have been something someone did before this. So hats off to you, because I genuinely was like, this is great, and this should be on shelves everywhere that you're buying not only energy gels today that are not as healthy, but also it's a great snack on the go. It's just a great option. And that's the one downside of dates that I know I've run into even as a dad with little kids. It's one of those things where it's not the most convenient thing to take with you. Like if you're going somewhere, like it's a great snack, but they're sticky and you gotta like depit half of them unless you get depitted ones. I don't know. Anyway, I'm teeing it up for you there. But yeah, so the product's awesome. I can just vouch for it. I've had it and
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, how did you, like the form factor? I would love to start there, and then I would love to go backwards actually and hear more of your origin story before, just to give everyone context. You had it flashed up. You know, probably 8 out of 10 people are not watching the podcast, so most people are going to hear this. So if you're not watching, you're not going to see it. But Alan, you have one, don't you? I'd love for the people that do.
Yeah, if you are looking at it,
awesome.
No, thank you. So we do it in 4 blends. They all have medjool dates. They're from California, by Coachella Valley. I'm from a farm out there. And they're blended up. And as I said, we blend it with orange blossom water. I came to learn from my mother, orange blossom water is used a lot in Mediterranean cooking. It pairs really well with dates. It balances out the sweetness. And it also is a source of antioxidants, which, I came to learn in the course of this journey. We do it in 4 blends. So the original is just those 2 ingredients. And then the third ingredient here, we're adding cinnamon. And then we're adding a third ingredient here, which is turmeric. And the third ingredient here is ginger, and that's our 4. That's the Datefix family. Wow. Everything gets food first. As I said, and the impetus is, long distance runner with a sweet tooth. You're right. The premise is so simple, but when it's really simple, it can be the hardest thing to achieve. So I love the form factor from the gels, but I didn't like what was inside of it. And so I thought, well, if I could put the delicious dates hiding in the middle of this pastry, and I came to learn a lot about dates, realized that they don't just taste good, but they actually are kind of nature's OG fuel.
Yeah.
OG MRE, in fact, then maybe we'd be onto something. And turns out, blending dates is really easy. You just need a food processor, take out the bits first. Nothing magical. They're super simple. But to get the viscosity, the consistency, the rich texture of a blended date, because this is not a liquid, you're getting a date, it's semi-solid. Mm-hmm. To get it in this form factor was literally like putting toothpaste in a travel size tube, yeah. And that was a multi-year effort that only sort of insane persistency was willing to sort of get through. Much to the displeasure of my wife. She was like, "When are you going to give it up?" And I'm like, "I can't. You just don't understand. I cannot give this up." And this is my passion project that became my job.
Okay.
And so I just toiled away at trying to figure out how no one on planet Earth had ever thought to, maybe it was a bad idea, but no one ever thought to put a blended date in a squeeze pack before. And so to align all those stars, it just took a tremendous amount of persistency and work and perseverance.
Well, congrats. I want to dive through that because I think ultimately the show is really about how you go 0 to 1. So getting through that is something I think people listen to and want to know. I would love to go back though, because Alan, part of also what was interesting to me, and I'm sure we'll be able to bounce back organically here, but looking at your background, one thing that was pretty obvious right away to me, and I always love this, is when like you're basically founding a food company, but it didn't look like, and tell me if I'm totally wrong here, it didn't look like you've ever worked in food before, which I always find actually is really cool. And we talked about a little bit before, but that's kind of what Peter's vision was with the people he's hiring at David. It's kind of like, let's start with people from a different world than food and let them, they're smart people, let them come in and just figure out how to do it. So would you mind giving everyone a little bit more of a background? Like it looked like, you had worked in, it was the jet business, like
I did. I'm an entrepreneur. My background's really in the real estate business. That's how I got started.
Okay.
And a finance background. But I've been an entrepreneur, and my sort of first really ambitious endeavor was I was in the jet business. I was living in Hong Kong, and I started the first corporate jet charter business. We did medical evacuation. It was totally crazy. I was 26 years old.
Wait, so this is the first business in the world that did charting jets, which is now a massive
in Hong Kong. You had Hong Kong's like one of the, is like New York City, and it's a rich, vibrant trading, enterprising. And until we came along, there was no corporate jet charter, and we put it on the map in Hong Kong. And I was in business with my wife, and who I met in Asia. So this is everything is that was a love story and a business story, and we created this company called MetroJet, and it's still we were bought out a long time ago, and it's thriving, and it's been around for a long time, and it's a very successful business, and it pioneered in a way corporate jet charter and things that we've come to commonly understand, but it was super pioneering in those days in that part of the world.
Wow. That's, I don't know how many people that know that. That's insane. That's wild to know that that's how you got started in business.
It was insane. It was totally insane. It was ridiculous, but we managed to do it. And it's a thriving business.
What was like, I'm sure there's a million. What were some of the like 1 to big 3 learning lessons from that whole experience of building that business for you?
Oh, I think to your point about, I think sometimes nice to be an outsider a little bit. I think thinking outside the box is my favorite piece of advice to people. My wife had an aviation background. I did not. But I had this entrepreneurial zeal, and that I knew. And so I think sort of, her know-how and sort of my drive, we were able to, and it's perseverance. It was like, as you know, most things that turn out to be good or were radical or different and changing, they weren't popular from the beginning. And it was all those people that just sort of said, I got to see it through. And I think that's the thing that carried me through. That sort of same mindset with MetroJet is what I was able to utilize and draw on for Datefix. And while not as ambitious, I got to tell you, putting dates in a squeeze bag took longer than to get airplanes flying in Hong Kong. I got to tell you, the startup journey was much longer, ironically speaking, for something as low tech as what we were doing.
That's wild, man. Yeah, I mean, that's funny, first of all. Second of all, wild, because now it's funny. I mean, I'm sure you see it too, but like I don't know what it is. Probably just think jets are cool. My algorithm, I feel like, is dominated by like all these private jet charters in the US now. Like, I feel like that's half of what I see when I get on my phone. It's hilarious. I'm like, I've never chartered a jet. I've never been on a private jet, but I think they're so cool. Anyway, total aside, I think that's so cool that was like your first, and also that's so cool you do with your wife. What a cool way to meet each other, work together, build a business.
I totally loved it. And the satisfaction at the end, when I'll never forget, when we finally launched, we had a celebration dinner, and all the people that were sort of like, where I don't know if you can really do it, and I'm not sure you can get all the licensing and pass all the hurdles. We ended up going out to celebrate with all the people that were sort of kind of naysaying in the beginning, but we built a relationship, and we all toasted to the success, and it's still cool. It's still flying. So that was a great moment of just vindicating perseverance, and actually being able to go celebrate a success with those that were probably weren't as thrilled as we were at the beginning, but came around to seeing the light and seeing. And so we, it's now enjoys a rightful place, and it's common, a common occurrence. So.
It's interesting. I know that's something, and he might listen, but Kyle and I, we're really bad at that. Like, if we ever all the goals since we've started our business that we've set, the ones we hit, like we are not good at celebrating. And I've always wondered that. Like, I almost think it's a superpower as an entrepreneur to stop, celebrate what you did, because otherwise you just keep going. Like, you just keep going, you keep grinding, you keep building, and you don't realize there's all these things along the way. So good for you guys for doing that. I mean, I do think that's hard to do. I'm just genuinely curious, because also you know a little bit about me, like finance background. Back then when you guys started that, were you able to bootstrap that kind of business?
No. We needed major capital, and we were fortunate. We partnered up with a local family who was a billionaire then, before the rest of the world became billionaire.
Yeah, sure.
Before billionaires became as ubiquitous as we now hear, but they had an early head start, and they had an interest in aviation, and we knew them. My wife knew them, and then we knew them. They thought it had a rightful place, and they wanted to see it happen. So but we had one capital partner, which was great, and kind of we were the sweat equity, and that's how it came to be.
Love it.
Yeah. No,
I do think. Yeah. I was going to say. I mean, that I thought that was going to be the answer. It needed
real capital, but we were fortunate to have really good capital partners.
I think that's a skill too. I mean, I'm sure you've seen all different versions of it. I've never gone out transparently to raise capital. I just know so many people that have, and it seems like a skill in and of itself. Like, whether you're building any kind of business, being able to go raise money is from what I've heard from people even on this podcast, is quite the skill that is either you have it or you learn it or you never do it. Is kind of the three buckets I've heard.
Yeah, it's true. You really do. And I got it. So I got my teeth. I cut my teeth on that at a young age with that. And right now, Datefix, I self-fund it. So
okay, good for you.
Try to keep away from for as long as possible. Bootstrap it along and enjoying that for the time being, and we'll see what happens. As things grow. But
sure. Are you? And then after the jet business, you said real estate. So is that where you've spent a lot of your careers? Then
I spent a lot of my time real estate development business. And
how'd you go from jets to real estate?
Well, I was really, it was a family, I was involved in a family business. We had
Okay.
so I was in my blood. My father was in that business, and that's what got me interested in real estate. And I was really only already doing that prior actually to the jet business. The jet business was sort of a detour just because I had met my wife and we saw it was my first opportunity to really get my, entrepreneurial juices going. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, my wife was amenable to saying, "Okay, let's do that." So
You need that.
I think we were business. I guess technically we were business partners before we were married, but it all led to the same place.
It's inevitable.
Actually, today is our anniversary of all things.
Congratulations.
So, yeah.
How many years?
31 years.
Also, good job on you nailed that. Nailed it.
Yeah.
31. Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. 31 years.
What's the what's the key?
I don't know. I wish I could do things over again because I think I have a little more knowledge but I just, what's it, happy wife, happy life, I guess is the saying. No, you know what? Just stay on the same team. And I knew I married my soulmate, so that's still the case.
Love that, man. Love that. Well, I'm going to be 10 years married. Hard to believe this. I guess it was January. So we're in year 10, but
congrats. Congrats. It's a milestone.
Yeah. I was going to say 31. That's awesome, man. Good for you guys. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So you go into real estate and you do real estate for a long time. While you were in real estate, were you ever getting an itch for anything related to starting like a CPG product, food product?
Well, yes, this was an itch that was really, so this was my garage project. This was I love
hobby, kind of.
It's my hobby. I love food. I like the old ad, I run to eat. And eat to run, It gives me permission. So it was it just was like my whole ecosystem, and I was also fascinated. I was an international relations major at University of Michigan. And I also was fascinated. How did something that started in one corner of the world, like food wise or whatever wise, but food in this particular context, how did it become adopted across time and space? And you're right, dates. I often use the same expression. It's the forgotten fruit, and right. Every fruit. It's been turned into a jam. There's really not even date jam. There's just dates. Yeah, really are there. You see every kind of fruit that's done in every possible conceivable way, and dates really are still something and it's the oldest fruit in the book, and yet it's just sort of like forgotten and it's this amazing superfood that we were fortunate to be able to do something, because I don't think and I've tried. I don't think there's another fruit that really lends itself to what we've did, to creating kind of the ultimate energy pack.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like this is a stat I knew back at our EXPO, and you might have told me this too. Out of all fruit, aren't dates the ones that basically, I don't want to use the word shelf life, but the ability for it to actually help things stay preserved is insane.
Well, I think one of the things that I thought was the superpower of dates was not just it was sweet or delicious, but it maintained, it was a fresh fruit for it stays fresh for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so, we've been able to, Datefix has a 2-year shelf life. It has longer.
You told me that. I was blown away. I was like, that's insane.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So, people, I sort of think that wrinkled, and there's hundreds of varieties of dates, but the one most familiar sort of in U.S. supermarkets are sort of medjool dates and Deglet Noir. And we use a medjool date, which is really the Rolls Royce of dates. And people think that, sort of shriveled looking date is dried, but they're moist in the inside. That's its fresh fruit state. That's its ripened state. And it stays that way for a really long time. And then, we're very thoughtful, food science and so forth, but we were able to respect that sort of biological, natural integrity. And so I think there's something, this is fresh fruit that's shelf stable for 2 years. And I think there's a lot of good that a product like that can do, as you said, whether you're running, using it as a fuel or snacking on it.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
I would agree. And it's, I will use the analogy that I just thought of, I got fruit from Whole Foods, yesterday. And like the bananas are already, I swear I went upstairs just before this to get something to eat. And the bananas are already, they were green yesterday and they're yellow. And in 2 days they're going to be brown. And so like, just to get like oranges on the counter seem like they never last very long, et cetera, et cetera. That's why I remember at our X Bar, one of the first days, someone gave you a whole rundown of like the history of dates. And we had this whole thing when we came on at our X Bar, and it was crazy. And I remember similar to what you just said. It's like, oh wow, had no idea. It's just like not included in when you name off fruits. Even it's just like not in the U.S. at least. Obviously, like in other parts of the world, it's extremely popular. But it's weird how it's even after there's been some success with brands. I don't know. This is interesting. You would know because you're close to this too. I don't know. The average consumer, like obviously I knew this because of our X Bar, but the average consumer that eats our X Bar, I'd love to know if they realize that's like if they saw a date and they've eaten our X Bars a lot, if they realize that's even what's in it. I bet that's not even 1-to-1.
I bet you're right. I know you're right for sure. And it's amazing. Yeah, people in the United States really they're not that in certain parts of the country. They've never had it. And we have a lot of fun with it in marketing. You've never had a date before. And, let this be your first date. Let's have a first date here together. Look at the wrong idea. Yeah. So we have a lot of fun. We've trademarked the perfect date actually.
Great, that's smart.
Yeah. And so we've had a ton of fun with it and sort of just, and you're right, exactly what you described. People just aren't that familiar with it. And we've made the date the main event here. We're not using it as a kind of an ingredient in a bar. This is the main event. And so, people's eyes light up when they know dates. And then we'll get people very often, to your point, they sometimes don't really like the way the date looks. It's amazing superfood with great properties. And it's just like, it's very like all fruit. I mean, really special. But people are kind of can be turned off by the way it looks. So they just don't even bother to go there, not knowing. And then we give them a date fix and they're like, I love date fix. I'm like, well, then you like dates now. And just by changing the form factor, and we get that. We don't really, we understand. It's like we didn't put a date on the pack because again, it's
was that by design?
By design, yeah. It's really not the most attractive, and it sometimes turns people away just the way it looks. That's an it's not everyone. Fortunately, most people like them, and they like them, but they're just not like open-minded. Yeah. And so I think we're stimulating, demand for interest in dates by changing the form factor. And right, so you're getting all the nutrient density, per calorie that you would from a whole date, but we just made it so much more convenient. And you get all the caramel-like sweet, satisfaction without a sticky mess, and you can put it in your pocket. And we encounter people like you were describing that try to use dates as fuel when they bike ride, when they run, when they do sports, or they do activities, or just want healthy snacks. But it's just, the Ziploc bag. We've sort of taken the Ziploc bag to a whole nother level here where, right, you can rip and squeeze. And so, people were sort of trying to figure out what to do. And then I toiled for years to actually get it in this form factor. But there you have it. But I think people were kind of thinking around the same idea, like, oh, well, yeah, that's such a great idea. But, actually executing on it is a whole nother story.
Yeah, of course. Of course, the execution is the key. So I would love to go to the beginning here. You said it was like a garage project, for lack of better words. It was basically a hobby. For everyone listening, like this is honestly like one of my favorite parts of getting to hear your story is like, okay, Alan's playing with this. You're mixing the stuff up. Your mother-in-law makes, these ingredients, blah, blah, blah. You have like a thing that you're making at home.
Yeah.
Going from that to step one, like the 0 to 1 thing right here is such the key part, which is obviously you had to, whether it was structure a business, go out and actually figure out how to put it into this form factor. what were some of the earliest steps? Like, some people they went to PowerPoint, they try to make a logo, or they talk to a co-man, or, I just love to know, like, if you remember back, like, let's say like week 1, week 2 of Datefix, like, what were some of the earliest things you were just trying to do and like to get this even started?
Well, the
I
first
think people miss
idea,
that. People don't fully understand I haven't started something. Like, there's a lot of non-sexy little steps that go into even you just like getting on the starting line.
so it really has been a long, arduous journey. It started with a food processor. Could I, could I put the ingredients together? Could it come out tasting? So I was very, very focused on taste. I was very focused on could it have enough shelf, like in food. I think the reason we have so many of the health issues we have is that food integrity and shelf stability don't play well together. Because if it's high in integrity, like the banana, there's no shelf stability. And in a way, we're kind of the new banana. We're the banana that doesn't go bad, because dates by weight have more potassium by weight than a banana, actually, as a fun fact. So so my whole thing was, could I just use natural, 2 ingredients and have a shelf-stable product, and how long? So I did a lot of testing on that, literally putting it in Ziploc bags, sending it off, to, Cornell for food science testing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what does that look like? What does testing look like?
Yeah, I mean, it was just in, back in, running, try this version to get readings on it. And, learned a lot, I think we became in a way their poster child for kind of creating this freak of nature, this fresh fruit that had a 2-year shelf life and with only 2 ingredients. I mean, if you were to assemble a bunch of Iron Chefs and say, try to come up with, a whole food, based product with, shelf stability such you could market it as a CPG in the store, you'd be hard pressed to come up with it's very hard. And, so I was trying to avoid the pitfall that when people sort of a homemade recipe becomes industrialized, it loses its integrity along the way, sure, either through preservatives or something. And yet Datefix is the rare product that, whether it's the food processor in the plant or the food processor in your home, it tastes identical. It smells just as good. It's like incredible. And so that's where I was first fixed on. And then I went out to try to find a co-man. And that was, okay, great idea. And I initially sold it actually in the early, as part of this sort of start, a little bit on the side here, pick it up, put it back down, in various points in time. I managed to sold it in a jar, first of all.
Oh,
and
okay.
And I found putting it in a jar was totally doable. And I cold called Whole Foods. And
really?
and I was fortunate that the person at the other end of the phone said, "I've been looking for you."
No way.
And I specifically called the cheese department, the cheese buyer, because I thought dates and cheese were such a great combination, the way like figs were.
Wait, I've never had this. Is that a thing? Cheese and
yeah, it's great. You can put this on a charcuterie board, like cheese.
Really?
I mean, yeah, it's insane. It's dates. It's like it's just amazing. Like the idea, like taking a whole date and wrapping it in bacon and blue cheese. Like that's a thing you can buy, like on menus.
Sure. Yeah.
It's that kind of idea. And he was like,
"Yeah, we got to pause there." So you pick up the phone, you cold call the cheese. Like I would have never thought to do that. The cheese buyer at Whole Foods, and you just say, "Hey, like I have a product that would be perfect for your category."
Yeah. I did. I was like, normally you can never get a human being on the phone, and let alone one that even had any interest in talking to you.
Especially at Whole Foods, like that's not easy.
Yeah. I mean, they're a busy place, And the guy was like, "No, I've got fig. We think date fits in the arsenal. Let's come, So I went into their offices and I gave them a taste test, and they were really nice and they were really like helpful on sort of, and it was a predecessor version. But that's how that was the start. And I think they gave us 2 stores in New York City. I was living in New York at the time. And
wait, so you're a first retailer Whole Foods company?
Yeah.
I never.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know this part of the story. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
There's
Well,
not too many of those. But
in
those are some of,
in the jar version,
oh, in the jar version, right? Okay.
in the jar version, but it gets better in the pack. Yeah, well, but the jar version wasn't what I was really looking to do, and I kind of put pencils down. My father passed away, and I just sort of like had other things I had to deal with that were, the real life set in.
Yeah.
And the garage project once again got, kicked to the side. But those were sort of the validation points, if you would, because it passed through a lot of mouths, and people loved the taste. And I already knew it was the filling in a pastry. It was dates. I was pretty good to go anyway. But still, it's another thing when it's actually realized. And then I said, look, putting in a jar is like a jam maker. That's not what I want to do. I did this so that I could fuel my, like my runs with something clean. Right. I got to get into this form factor. And I literally I think I called every co-packer that anyone had ever possibly told, every list in America, I went to every person that made a gel. The gel makers were like, Alan, this is kind of food, and it's not really, it's not a gel.
Well, yeah, so like all the running gel guys, they were kind of like
they said, no way, Jose. This is food, Alan, and we really don't do food. We're more in the the supplement nutraceutically kind of.
Yeah. We're more in the like fake ingredient stuff anyway.
Yeah. It's like if it's not if it's not slime and slippery, it's not our thing. We needed to slip through the, so I'm like, we can't help you. So they were not interested, and no one. And so I literally, and it took a long time to literally call every possible.
How are you talking to you? Are you emailing, calling?
I'm calling, I'm emailing, I'm doing anything and everything. It's just like, and it's a slow process.
Are you able to dedicate like pretty serious time to this, or is it kind of like?
Well, it was like I was just like, I'm doing it here. I'm falling between the cracks, trying to have a real job and do this on the side. It was like, that's why it took so long, and because it was. But and then I got fortunate that I met one gentleman who's like, I think I can help you figure this out. And he became one of my angels. He's just one of those people that like after, hundreds and hundreds of no's, he was the one person that said, yeah, I think we can handle we can figure this out. But, wow. Even that statement took a while before it really happened. We then ran into COVID, so in order to make it, I had to actually, no one had all the equipment needed that we thought we needed. We weren't even really sure what the equipment was because it just had not been done. But as I started to educate myself and then, in this journey here, I went out into the market, and literally at the launch of COVID, I went out and bought some equipment that I thought would be essential to do it because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to get it with COVID. It was already long enough and I bought a used piece of equipment, and that was fundamental to being able to make the product that was essential. I interestingly co-locate equipment in a co-man to be able to produce the product. So we had to really invent our own production. We have a proprietary production line. We had to put all these pieces together. I
don't know if I knew that, Alan.
No, wild. You didn't know. No, this is the long story, but we had to create our own proprietary production line. Down to the boiler. All kinds of things yeah, I'm in.
I personally think, hats off to you. I didn't know that part of the story. That, to me, that's where it seems like a lot of really successful food companies are going to next decade. This is just my super high level experience opinion from just the brands that I've worked with over the years. If you can figure out a way to self-manufacture and it doesn't completely, it's not like completely eroding of your P&L, man, it separates you. It's like real IP. Like what you're doing is, you're creating IP in a way that, it's not going to be easy for anyone to go copy. Number one, you're building a moat.
Yeah, no, that is right. Look, I wasn't looking to build the moat, but I had to build the moat in order to turn
into a legit garage operation.
Exactly. To save face with my wife and family and friends, I got to see this to the finish line. This is a marathon after all.
Yeah. Well, that's also some healthy. I feel like that's a little bit of it's like a healthy keeping you on track is having the family be like, Alan, are you gonna put this down? Are you gonna do it? What's gonna happen?
Yeah, exactly. And then of course, like, oh, we knew it's a great idea, all along, but no,
Of course. Yeah.
right. So they're like, anyway, so so we did. We have as a result, we have a proprietary production line, and I knew the food was good. From those sort of small steps, I knew that it deserved to exist, and if I wanted to see it through, and I wanted to be able to produce it at scale, and so we finally, we put this mousetrap together and turned on the switch and hoped that Datefix would come out the other end of it, and it did. It did. It worked, and I did it in time. There was I decided to launch it at the Fancy Food Show in New York in the summer of 23, and so we were literally just like we were trying to produce this it's like the week of the show. Am I going to drive it? Am I going to have to go drive it? From the Midwest into the Jacob Javits Convention Center, to have product on hand for the show. And literally, it was just coming to the wire. It was totally, and I got like the cheapest. I mean, I was like in the bleacher section of Jacob Javits, the cheapest, a table. And I'm like, I don't even think anyone could find me. But I was fortunate that two people found me there, and that was Walmart and Whole Foods.
Wow.
And yeah, and
low key.
Yeah, low key. They found that table on the back nine there, and in the woods, and that's the buyer from Whole Foods called me that week and said, you want to come down to Bentonville and show me what you got? And,
wow.
I did, and we were really fortunate that they loved it and were willing to give a newbie start, and Whole Foods took a liking as well, and eventually we started that on a regional basis. We're trying to expand that nationally, and that's how we got started.
Congratulations! What a start!
Yeah,
I mean, again, like that 0 to 1 part, that's the part that most people put the baton down and stop, but it's the persistence that it's like a part of every story of every product that's come to life.
Yeah, look, the product is so unique. It's so simple. I mean, it's so radically simple. It defies gravity.
That was exactly what I told you when I met you for the first time. I told you I was like not blowing smoke. Like you guys were like there was 3 brands that I was really interested in looking at EXPO out of the whole show, and you were on that list because of that. And I genuinely like. Packaging's amazing. I think the branding's awesome. Use case is great, and you couldn't get simpler ingredients. Like it's great, and like the flavor profile. I'm not trying to blow you up here, but it's smart. It's simple, and it's like you didn't start simple and then like go crazy with flavors or something. You kept it forward. So
yeah, no, we wanted it. The flavors dates, and people are. It's interesting. People are they've been trained almost to like. They're like it actually like they're like relieved and like, wow, this is a date. Wow, it tastes like it's supposed to be a date, and they're like, and this is like really good. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I really would not want to be wasting my time, your time,
sure.
If it wasn't something special. But there was a recognition, and so even though we were, obviously had nothing going on, they saw it as unique, kind of the poster child for whole. I mean, if there was to be we're not there yet in terms of, but from an ingredient profile, it's like the poster child of what you would think a Whole Foods product would be. It's 2 or 3 whole ingredients,
right.
And Walmart, kudos to them. They were, they loved the healthy halo, and they got on board, and they just renewed us, and really,
congratulations,
really grateful for the partnership. And standing with us while we're, kind of in this beginning journey, as an emerging brand, as a startup, kind of seeing that the food integrity here is something that, we want to be a part of in this journey. So I'm really grateful and was really blessed to have that happen.
That's amazing. Congratulations, Alan. That's awesome. Whole Foods, Walmart. Where else can people? I have two more questions I love to ask as we wrap up the hour and we get towards the end. Can people get you guys online? Do you have a D2C site? I always love to give people an opportunity to wherever they have a retailer close by that they could find, whether it's online or in store.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. We're in about 4,000 retail locations. We're in Fleet Feet. We're in we're on the feed. We're on you can go to datefix.com, our D2C site. We're in running stores. We're in supermarkets around the country. Natural markets. We're in bike stores and running stores and yoga studios and Pilates studios and Equinox and those kinds of places. And it's kind of one of the rare products that can live, can live in a. I mean, it's an amazing that it can live in a grocery store, but a running store. It really can live anywhere. And we've done some interesting tests with some big retailers, non-traditional, that I think are really exciting. Who want to have a no fuss, really fruit item that they can give their customers without any stress or hassle. And so datefix.com. We sell a 12-pack box online. This is our variety, most popular. And we get all 4 blends. We can also buy individual blends, and we're selling it as singles across the country.
Love it. Okay, and I'll add those to the show notes. People can easily find that. This question is one of my favorites, and I'm so excited to hear yours. It's all about the question that I'm going to build up to is how you get shit done ultimately. But for you, Datefix obviously is a whole new business with a lot of things probably changing and evolving every day. You've also worked in the jet business. You've worked in real estate. Alan, what do you use to plan like big goals, whether that's like the next 10 years or your annual goals, down to like, what's the shit that you got to get done today? Are you a pen and paper guy? Do you have apps? Like what's your ecosystem look like for productivity?
I'm a list person for sure. My friends will always laugh. I used to carry around a legal pad, and this is before you had, iPhones and all that. And I would literally take the legal pad. I had it folded in half, and every line of that legal pad, had something on it that was literally my Bible. And then thankfully, we got to digital note taking, and so my phone. So I'm that notes guy. I'm that Evernote person.
Okay.
I am all over that, and it's great because I used to have literally millions of pieces of paper, and I finally got or welcome to the digital age, and now I don't have any paper. I have very little. I used to carry paper all over the place. I don't really carry paper anymore. So that's amazing.
You went from legal pad to full digital.
I'm full digital. Our team is sharing Google Docs but my lists are, and I'm eating and sleeping. I'm thinking of, something on the production line, something that marketing, what's our next opportunity? And I love it. I am so energized every single day, and so fired up every day that I can barely sleep at night to just go out there and brush it the next day. I get my workout going every morning, and then I just fire into I made my life is my passion now at this point. And we're kind of on this mission to advance health and wellness by reinventing the date and making this incredible fuels, to help people, fuel and flourish the way nature intended, kind of using the genius of nature. And that's our whole thing. And I'm just got a great team of people that are really into that mission, and we're having a lot of fun together, and just enjoying watching the dominoes fall and, creating that tipping point moment, working towards it.
Yeah. Well, Alan, congratulations on all the work. I mean, obviously CPG, it's tough. It's a grind, but you've done some amazing things already. And to know where your retail footprint started, and everything you've talked about today and our conversations we've had before this. I'm bullish on you guys. I know I keep saying that, but I really am. I think you got something great. So thanks for taking the time today, man. I really appreciate it. And I'll add all the links to the show notes for people to find it, and people can get Datefix for themselves.
Really appreciate it. It was great. I really appreciate you reaching out to us, and I'm really glad that we were doing something that sort of piqued your interest in a crowded world. So it kind of helps us keep going, and that's kind of like why we're willing to sort of run through walls, and hopefully that there's lots of Shanes out there that feel the same way, and that we're making a contribution.
Yeah, for sure. There definitely are. We just got to find them. So that's the goal. That's the goal after this show. We got to get
exactly.
Awesome. Well, Alan, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure.